Hi everyone, Dr. Sean O'Mara here with the Health and Wealth Optimization Podcast and YouTube channel, doing another video, this time on a new molecule that I'm super interested in, and I've been finding more interesting articles about this particular molecule. It's called the stroma cell-derived factor 1. It's abbreviated SDF1. If you follow me, you know that I like to promote certain molecules. I'm very fond of oxytocin, nitric oxide. I'm also very fond of the microbiome, mitochondrial biogenesis, and other natural concepts that I think we have a rudimentary understanding of, but we don't really leverage really well in the way we should. Mostly because they're natural and they sometimes compete with big pharma and big healthcare's ability to make money. Today's video, I want to delve into SDF1 because I think right away it's being promoted in a negative way, or in a way that we shouldn't. Very similar, reminds me of what we've done with cholesterol. So SDF1 is something that you may want to Google and find out about. There's a study that is dated back in 2018. I'm going to put it up here so you can do a screenshot of that, and I will also try to put that on my Twitter and Instagram account so that you can see that. But there's an interesting study that took a look at SDF1 in a mice study. And so what they found was with SDF1, where it's inhibited, you don't get scarring. And so they were able to show that in a mouse model. What's interesting to me is I've been a physician for now close to 25 years, and what's remarkable is with regard to scarring, which is a natural process that we see very frequently whenever we have wounds, and as a former ER physician, I would see a lot of trauma that would end up causing scarring. What's really interesting to me, though, is as you age, when you get older, you don't get more scarring, you get less. Isn't that interesting? So the people who scar the most are the young and healthy. And the people who scar the least amount, are older people. So it looks like there's a certain threshold, though, because with embryological development, as embryos are developing, babies are developing, there's a certain point where some trigger is released where they begin to scar, but not beforehand. So in utero, you can actually do surgeries and there won't be any scarring. But afterwards, then there's a threshold biologically met by this protein, this very interesting protein, that begins to cause scarring. So I'm just going to put it out there because I can point to development within societies to show this particular evidence for this particular fact, but I'm going to put out there the scarring is a great thing, because tissue that is scarred is actually stronger than tissue that isn't. So one of the concepts that I like to talk about is resilience, and resilience is a great thing. So that which does not kill us makes us stronger, applies to scarring. So when you get scarred, your tissue becomes actually stronger for it. And when you don't have scars, your tissue are not as good. So this is an example where just going through life, you get scarred, you actually become better for that in a kind of a resilient, hormetic kind of a experience. So older people don't do that, young people do. So if you study a lot of different tribes and tribal people, traditional people around the world, you'll find that there is a practice oftentimes of admiring scars. And they even induce it sometimes in a practice called scarification, where they purposely put these scar kind of elaborate patterns, and I'm sure you've seen it in National Geographic, elaborate patterns on their face. And it's really to biologically capture what is a natural response in both men and women to admire scars, because who gets scarred are the people that are out front, the high performers in a clan and a tribe of people leading a hunt or leading a battle. So you get these noble scars that we admire. Now, there have even been studies that show that women, the opposite sex, are attracted to men with scars if it's not from an illness, or if it's perceived to be something related to hunting or battle. Here's an example in a toy. This is a G.I. Joe, and I found this online. I thought it was interesting that even G.I. Joe is got this scar. But the interesting thing about this scar is it's pigmented. See, it's got a dark color to it. And most scars are white. If you think about it, if you look at your own scars, they probably are white. But all my life, even preceding when I was a physician, I picked up on certain people had pigmented scars, and typically kind of a purple color. And so when I trained as an emergency medicine physician, we were told to warn people to be careful when they go out in the sun, because their scars can become pigmented. And I mean, we would do that and sometimes document. A lot of times we wouldn't, and they never, most of the time it didn't happen. So I think what's going on is that once if you have a certain level of health, your skin will become more pigmented when you're exposed to sun, the influence of sunshine, and your skin will your scars will become more pigmented naturally if you're more healthy. So all my life, most of my life, I've not been healthy. It wasn't until the age of 48 that I really started to optimize my health. And so all my scars are white, but really cool, just starting to happen. I would say over the past year, especially over the past 6 months, my scars are now turning purple. So this is interesting, and I'll just show you a picture of what this looks like. So this is a scar on my shin. I guess I should hold it this direction so you can see it. And you can tell that it's very, very pigmented. So it's got this, to me, what I think is an attractive looking purple. Maybe you don't want that, but I have picked up on the fact that in the past, and since I've been a physician, people that have these pigmented scars, by and large, are lean. They're healthy. They're oftentimes athletic. They enjoy a higher quality of health than the typical person. And people that have really white scars, they're are just the opposite. Typically metabolic dysfunction, overweight, obese very oftentimes. And so if you follow me and you're trying to optimize your health, and I hope you are, then watch for this phenomenon to start happening to you, and see if your scars, when you get, even little tiny minor scrapes, will start to get more purple and more pigmented. So SDF1, stromal cell derived factor 1, plays a huge role in that. So what they found in this particular study that I showed, and just so you know, if you couldn't see that screenshot, you wrote it down. It's called "Aging Suppresses Skin-Derived Circulating SDF1 to Promote Fold Thickness Tissue Regeneration." So in this particular study, it was a mouse model. What they were able to do is to inhibit that SDF1. So when they inhibit it, then scarring doesn't happen. So SDF1 is present in youthful people, and in older people it's no longer present. And so they're trying to create a whole class of inhibitors to suppress SDF1 so that it's not present, and so you can reduce the amount of scarring. Well, I think this is a big mistake. We're attracted to scarring because it shows that you're a higher performer. It shows that you're more out front, and it shows that you had a healthy response to injury. And an unhealthy response is the lack of scarring. So creating this whole class of drugs is suppressing something that's good. What's remarkable to me in that study, and the investigator is actually quoted saying, I gotta read it to you, is this is a rare instance where aging actually improves the body's ability to heal rather than diminishing it. Completely off. Completely misses it. So it's super sad. It's just like what's happened with big pharma with regard to cholesterol. They think cholesterol is a bad thing, and they're trying to diminish it through these inhibitors. And so I just don't want to see this happening with SDF1, because SDF1, cholesterol is used to do cell membranes. It's used to create hormones. It's used to generate nerve tissue. It's involved in a number of vital physiological functions, and yet big pharma and healthcare has identified it as something that we want to get rid of, and it's affecting all those other processes. So SDF1 is similar because it's involved in so many great things. Angiogenesis, creating blood vessels. Blood vessels are awesome. You need to be able to develop blood vessels and tissue that's damaged. You want to generate more, and when you're responding to resilient practices, lifting weights, sprinting, doing the high intensity that I advocate doing, you want to regenerate, increase that. So super important. Angiogenesis, central nervous system. SDF1 is involved in maintaining and caring for the CNS system. Human growth factor, what allows you to, for tissues to grow, super important. Cell membranes, the integrity, like cholesterol, super important. Calcium ion transport and homeostasis, the maintenance of calcium ion transport, very important, for intracellular channels and communications. And response, the body's response to hypoxia, meaning low oxygen levels. So it may very well be that older people have a more difficult time responding or suffer greater injury from a lack of oxygen, such as stroke or an immersion injury, than younger people, precisely because they lack SDF1. And so SDF1 is present in younger, healthier people. It's also involved in the positive regulation of endothelial cell regeneration, those beautiful cells that line arteries and veins and capillaries and vascular structures. Super important collection of cells that you've heard me talk about that's really key and important. And it's also key to responding to viruses, responding to heat. We already know that older people are not, they don't have the same immune system. They're more susceptible to viruses, influenza, and COVID. And also, they're not very heat tolerant. Younger people can tolerate, healthier people can tolerate heat better. And apoptosis, programmed cell death, which is critical to enjoying level health and making sure that our body's physiology is optimized. Axonal growth is a key factor for neuron axons, the development and maintenance of neurons and central nervous system, peripheral nervous system maintenance, and brain development, and our body's immune response. So SDF1 is a really awesome thing. I'll just show you one other picture. Recently that kind of reminded me of this. This is a soldier that came through recently that I was working with. They're getting ready to go on deployment, and I noticed they had this scar over their lip, and so they had a level of pigmentation that was enhanced, and instead of a white scar, they had this pigmented scar, and they were quite healthy. They were a wrestler. They had a very athletic background, a very lean and trim individual, and very healthy. So I'd like you to take a look and watch. If you are trying to optimize yourself, that you maybe you've been following me and following my tips on ways to optimize yourself, then start to see if you don't start developing some purpling of your scars. So again, I'm really big on blood flow. I'm not sure that this will be able to show up, but you can see in this particular area here, hopefully it's picking up on the camera, my brachial artery is visible, and I don't think you're going to be able to see, but maybe you will, be able to see my radial pulse evident in my radial artery. But if it doesn't show up in this video, I'll work on doing a dedicated video. But vascular growth is really, vascular condition is super important to maintaining your health. I'm 57 years old, and it's one of the highest priorities priorities I have with regard to my health is to make sure that I optimize my blood flow, the maintenance of my vascular system, so that I can have the necessary response to optimize myself. Well, hopefully you found this this video on SDF1 interesting. If you want to learn more about health optimization, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Also, my YouTube channel, Dr. Sean O'Mara, and my podcast that I do with my partner, Eric Jungles, who talks and gives concepts about financial wealth optimization, where I talk about concepts on health optimization, two critical important areas, your health and your wealth, that we like to discuss. Follow us and subscribe to our channel on Health and Wealth Optimization Podcast, and then follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Sean O'Mara, where I discuss really important concepts like living a ketogenic lifestyle and fasting, and the carnivore diet and carbohydrate elimination, especially elimination of processed foods, and then microbiome enhancement, the consumption of fermented foods, and the role of sunshine and vitamin D, nitric oxide and oxytocin, and stress hormetic practices such as cold thermogenesis and sauna, things that play critical roles that physicians are not doing a good enough job to promote and educate people about. So if you like this video, give it a like, and if you're seeing me on YouTube channel, consider subscribing to me and to our Health and Wealth Optimization Podcast, and pass this on to other people to be aware. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next time on the next video.